You are not going to believe this. I mean, you are not going to believe this. But yet, I hope you're going to believe it, because Jesus did unbelievable things. We know this because we have read about the miracles, right? Remember when he turned the water into wine, and then he healed the blind and the lame and the lepers? He even commanded a storm to stop. Jesus was always defying logic and the laws of nature and just doing the impossible. Well, today's story takes place right after a miracle. Remember the story of the feeding of the 5,000? When Jesus was on a hillside and he took 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes, and he prayed to God, and lo and behold, was able to feed 5,000 plus hungry people. And then the disciples collected 12 baskets of leftovers. Well, immediately following that, Jesus told the disciples to get into the boat and go across the Sea of Galilee. And then Jesus dismissed the crowds, and he went up to the mountain where he could be alone and pray. And he prayed into the late night hours, the early morning hours. Meanwhile, the boat on the sea was being tossed by the wind and the waves, and the disciples were struggling to get across. Jesus came down from the mountain, and he went to the lake, and he began to walk on the water. Walk on the water to the disciples in the boat. And since it was early morning and still dark, and they were being tossed by the storm, some of the disciples saw a figure coming to them. And then they were terrified, and they cried out, "It's a ghost!" And Jesus came close to them, and he said, "Calm yourselves. Take courage. It is I." And Peter was caught up in the moment, and he said, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water." And Jesus said, "Peter, come." And Peter got down out of the boat, and he began to walk on the water, watching Jesus. But then he looked down at all the churning waters around his feet, and he was frightened. And when he did that, he began to sink. And then he cried out, "Master, save me!" And Jesus lifted Peter up, and he said, "Where's your faith? Do you still doubt?" And then they both climbed into the rocking boat, and immediately the wind died down. And the disciples who had been watching all of this, they worshiped Jesus, and they said, "Truly, this is the Son of God. Truly, you are the Son of God." Wow, what an amazing story. It's almost unbelievable, but yet, because Jesus is there, it is believable. I wonder if you identify with Peter like me. I mean, one moment he has his eyes on Jesus, and he's doing great, he's doing amazing things, walking on water, and the next, he's distracted by all of the things around him. And then he begins to sink, and Jesus lifts him up. It's an amazing thing that even in the ups and downs of our life, all we have to do is to cry out for Jesus to lift us up.